Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're talking about our top fantasy football breakout players for 2020. These are the players who are going to catapult you to that championship. And you should target them if you want to win your draft, to win your league. Let's start this fantasy football podcast right meow.
Hit that drop. Hello and welcome to the Fantasy Football Upside. I am Justin. Kyle's laughing already.
Yep, always.
Thanks for dropping by our Fantasy Football podcast and YouTube channel. Today, we are going to give you our breakout players for the 2020 fantasy football season.
Yes.
We've had a pretty busy week this week, and I feel like we've given you a lot of good content. So
yes.
Our episodes from Monday and Tuesday of this week, we gave you 2 mock drafts. A standard mock, and then a full PPR mock draft. And then we hit you with the ever-popular sleepers. And yesterday, we gave you our big bust of the season. So definitely check those out in the description below. Kyle's going to point at the big bust link right up there.
It's going to be up there.
Boom. What do you got for me?
Well, I don't have much for you, Everybody hit that subscribe button and make sure you click the bell so that you're notified every time that we upload the best fantasy football podcast on the internet. Just do that. We're going to upload all season long, guys. We're going to try to help you get through week to week. We're going to talk about waiver wires, all kinds of stuff. Make sure that you're, getting it done so that you can get that championship, get that title. All right.
Get ahead of the curve. Go and hit that button. Hit that subscribe.
Yeah. And look, if you don't like us, tell everybody else about us who you're in leagues with, and then sabotage. Boom. Right? That's how it works. You like us? Keep us your secret. That's what it is. That's why we haven't gotten that many subscribers, is nobody's talking about us. We're too good. So we're not going to give you anything this episode. No. All right. So here we go. Let's dive right in, though, headfirst into the shallow end and talk about our breakouts for 2020, guys. These are the fantasy football breakouts. These are the guys who are going to get it done for you that nobody is really planning on doing it. All right, so who do you have for me? Well, first of all, we're going to talk about 4 players each. We're going to hit 1 running back, 1 wide receiver, 1 tight end, and 1 quarterback each. Yep. And so Justin's going to start us off with a running back. What do you have for us?
So at running back, my breakout player is Ronald Jones, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And that's because he's still really good value right now. And talk about improving from a disappointing rookie year. So last year, he totaled 1,003 yards and 6 touchdowns on 203 touches. He still finished as the 26th best running back in fantasy last year. But the rookie year, 77 yards and 30 touches, which was 95th best in fantasy.
He couldn't beat out Peyton Barber that year, right?
It's one of those things where I don't know why they put so much trust in Peyton Barber. I think it was because
it's Bruce Arians.
Well, they were still, there was still a lot of work Ronald Jones needed to do when it came to pass blocking and just being a third down back. And he has improved towards the end of the season. And all the reports out of offseason, that's what he's been doing with the running back coach there, is just improving this opportunity to be a 3-down back. And you just mentioned Bruce Arians. He just had another vote of confidence. Jones is the lead back, is what he said. And this was right after they signed LaShawn McCoy. I'm not worried about LaShawn McCoy. He's even said as well, I am a backup. I am a mentor right now. I jumped on the opportunity to join the Bucs because I think they're a Super Bowl contending team. They also drafted Keyshawn Vaughn in the 3rd round last year, but he still has to learn the offense in a weird off season right now. And it's one of those things where Brady, he's probably going to lean towards the more veteran in Ronald Jones compared to a rookie, even though Ronald Jones is like 3 months younger than Keyshawn Vaughn. We always like to drop that in there.
Yeah.
That's what I got as my breakout player, Kyle.
All right, so my breakout running back is a little bit more mainstream, I think, here, and that's the Eclair, Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Yeah,
he's going as running back 14. I was a little surprised that he's going as running back 14, but that's because we're paying attention to some of the other fantasy experts that are out there, and the noise is, a lot of the guys that we hear talk about him, they're dynasty drafters, and so they're taking this dude 1 overall.
Right.
They're wondering, do we take Jonathan Taylor or do we take Clyde Edwards-Helaire? And instead, we're talking to you about redraft. This is mostly redraft. You might have keepers or something, but look, Damian Williams checked out, man. He's opting out.
Yep.
And so now this is Clyde Edwards-Helaire's backfield. It's his job. And Andy Reid he's on the record describing Helaire as better than Brian Westbrook on film. And yeah, I hear that and I go, gimme. I will take him in the second round. Thank you very much, because that's where he is going.
Brian Westbrook was a dynamite fantasy football player.
Yeah. Look, this is a high-powered offense. This is a definite top 5 scoring offense.
Yep.
And if you look at the correlation between running backs finishing in the top 6 and high-powered offenses who finish in the top 5 or top 12 even, it is necessary for a running back to be on a high-powered offense finishing in the top 12 for him to have a chance to finish in the top 6. And this guy could do it. He's a first-round rookie. So he was drafted in the first round, and the touches that they get, usually I want to say they're around like 218 is the average for first-round rookie running backs over the last like 20 years. That's the average. This guy's going to get a lot of touches in an offense that's really wanting somebody like him. Like, they've been missing a guy like him since they gave Hunt the boot, right?
Yep.
So that's where I've got. All right, so what do you have for me at – oh, wait, I'm going to do wide receiver first, right? Okay,
let you go.
Yeah. All right, at wide receiver, I've talked about him before. I like him. I like him a lot. It's Diontae
number one in
Johnson
your heart right now.
Yeah. Ooh, I love him. No, Diontae Johnson. He's not number one in my heart. Yeah, I will take other guys over him, but that's because I don't have him as a first-round wide receiver. Yeah. But, it's Diontae Johnson, wide receiver 45 right now. Average draft position is 7th pick of the 11th round. That's pretty criminally bad, like, in my opinion, because this dude, he put up wide receiver 2 or better numbers in over 30% of the games that he played in last year, right? And he did that despite not having a QB on the team who was throwing passes. They had these 2 other guys that slotted in for them. Divot, I think, was one of them, and Duck, right? Divot and Duck.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, you do. Look, with Big Ben, you can definitely expect better results.
Yep.
They're going to throw the ball beyond 5 yards from the line of scrimmage,
most likely.
And most likely, and this guy, he's able to catch the ball a little bit further down the field than 5 yards. That's the rumor. It's the rumor. I don't know. They didn't have to do it last year because they couldn't do it.
Big Ben can handle,
in my opinion,
2 fantasy relevant wide receivers.
Yeah.
More than relevant wide receivers.
Oh, yeah. So in my opinion, he could finish as the wide receiver 1 on this team. It's possible. I'm not saying he will, but what I do foresee happening is that he will finish as a wide receiver 2 for you. I think that's going to happen. This dude's going to break out. People are going to look back at it and say, oh, he was this year's Gallup, this year's Calvin Ridley. So, well, those guys had breakouts. They're in the midst of them. So let's go right on here to you, Justin. Who do you have for me, right?
I like that segue. Good job, Kyle. My breakout player is Calvin Ridley of the Falcons. He's going as wide receiver 17, so 4th pick in the 3rd round. So you're like, really breakout player? He's being drafted as a really good wide receiver too. So when I say is, if you're looking for this year's Chris Godwin, you just found him in Calvin Ridley. And when it comes to the Falcons, they're number 1 in vacated targets. And we always like to talk about wide receivers headed into his 3rd year. Guess what? He's headed into his 3rd year. He's the clear number 2 option in this team. And it's actually getting closer to like a 1A, 1B. We're not that far away from that. And then let's just look at his production from last year. Weeks 1 through 14, he got hurt. I think it was in either week 14 or week 15 with an abdominal injury, but he was wide receiver 10, weeks 1 through 14. That is a big sample size. He has always been able to produce touchdowns for you as well. He had 10 his rookie year. He still had 7 last year in 14 games. And everybody knows about the issues that Julio Jones – it's not Julio Jones issues. For some reason, it's the play callers have issues throwing Julio Jones the ball in the end zone. And you know what? We're going to take advantage of that in getting Calvin Ridley. And he has the opportunity. Once again, I think he can finish as this year's Chris Godwin. Godwin was 16th, 17th, 18th wide receiver off the board last year in drafts. He finished as a number 2. And I look at the Bucs as well. You're looking at a guy you can have two number one or wide receiver ones on the same team. That's what happened last year with the Bucs with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Happened again this year with Julio Jones.
Well, I think this
Calvin
situation's even more likely to happen if you consider it to be an equivalent like scenario where Calvin Ridley is on the way up. It is more likely, in my opinion, than Godwin overcoming Evans. Evans is established but younger than Julio Jones. Julio Jones has been in this league for, I think he's entering his 10th or 11th season. I think it's 10th or 11th season now.
Is it that? Oh, wow.
I think it is, yeah. I could be wrong. I don't know. Somebody tell me how wrong I am down in the comments down there.
Oh, I'm sure we'll hear. All
well,
right.
Only on that thing. Don't tell me about all the other things I'm wrong. So let's move on here to tight ends. And who do you have for your breakout tight end?
My breakout tight end is actually Mike Gesicki, Miami Dolphins. He is going as tight end 16, 9th pick in the 10th round.
I don't know why.
I mean, it's one of those things where we've really started talking about Mike Gesicki a lot more here on this channel. And it's because we're starting to dive even deeper into these numbers. And I'm starting to realize how many available targets there are now. But let's just go back. Okay, towards the end of the season, it's a smaller sample size, weeks 12 through 16. He was tight end 6 last year.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty good headed into your fantasy football playoffs. He was able to probably get on your lineup if he had an injury or anything like that to your tight end position. But I just mentioned targets, about the opportunity for targets. We just had Albert Wilson and Allen Hurns opt out this year. I mean, no qualms to them opting out, but that just means, he has the opportunity of being the number 2 target on this team, because let's not forget that Preston Williams is still coming back from a torn ACL.
I've heard some noise that he's not ready.
He might come on the PUP list or something like that.
He may not go on the PUP directly, but that he's just not fully ready.
I mean,
I've heard some noise about that.
It wasn't like it was in training camp. It was after the first few games of the season, so everybody recovers differently.
It was it was like week 9 or something.
Oh.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things, people recover differently from torn ACLs, and I already mentioned it. The other wide receivers on the team that were going to be catching targets from, Fitzmagic or Tua, it's going to be going over to Mike Gesicki, and they talked about it as well. The coach has been coming out where they want him out as a wide receiver in 3 wide receiver sets. Well, you're basically don't have any other wide receivers left. You got to put him out there in the slot. So
this strikes me kind of like a Tennessee situation where you've got one wide receiver worth something and a tight end. So, All right, so I'll give you my tight end here. I've got a little bit more. I thought that by this time of the season or the off season, this guy would be getting a lot more noise. It's going in the wrong direction. I don't know why, but I'll take it. It's Hayden Hurst. Come on, man. He's going as tight end 15. He's going the 5th pick of the 11th round. Is
this off of Fantasy Football Calculator? No,
this is off of Fantasy Pros. Like, this is the composite ADP for through Fantasy Pros, and that is it's his composite ranking as well, I believe. And that's including Fantasy Football Calculator, My Fantasy League, and Fantrax. Yeah. So he's moving from an offense that ran the ball all the time to an offense that throws the ball all the time, who could throw for 700 times in the season or close to it. There's a ton of vacated targets at tight end in that offense, and it's a Dirk Cutter offense. So that actually means something.
Yeah.
So when Hooper exited, he left with about 100 targets there. I mean, he caught 90 of them, so that made a bit of a difference when you have a 90% catch, 90+% catch rate. But look, Atlanta obviously likes – I think that they don't just like – I think they truly believe in Hayden Hurst. So when you break it down, what did they spend to get him? He's a first-round draft pick for Baltimore. Baltimore let him walk for a second-round draft pick. That's a high price to pay to go get this guy. And you go get him, and you let Austin Hooper walk at the same time, a guy who worked in your system and proved that he could perform in your system. And you go and get a guy who's never performed somewhere, but that's because he was stuck behind Mark Andrews. Not only that, Matt Ryan loves tight ends in the end zone. He's had a few of them perform pretty well. right? So boom, there you go. Red zone, end zone. You've got a great value coming at Hayden Hurst, and you're getting him at an unbelievable draft price. That's absurd. I mean, that's almost like I've debated on whether or not to call him a sleeper. I'm like, no, people know about him, right? Apparently not. Like,
not yet.
Yeah, I think that you just got to have guts. Draft him. All right, so at quarterbacks, let's talk about our quarterbacks. I've got one again. This is a little more obvious, but it's Kyler Murray. Yeah. I know he's being drafted early, guys, but I'm calling for it to be his breakout. And I think that's just a lot of people are calling for it to be his breakout. He's going as the second pick in the 4th round on average. He's QB5, and this is his second year in the league, second year in this air raid system with Cliff Kingsbury, and he's got a good rushing floor. He's also got a new shiny toy in DeAndre Hopkins. He's also got Kenyon Drake standing behind him to help out, who can also catch passes as well. And then he's also got Christian Kirk and Larry Fitzgerald. That's nothing to be shy about, right?
And they also have some other depth wide receivers.
Yeah, they've got Andy Isabella, who's
Keyshawn Johnson.
Yeah,
they got some weapons.
Yeah. So look, I actually think that he's going to progress in rushing TDs a little bit this year. I think he's going to get a little bit more of that. He had a very low number. I think it was only 3 last year. Not only that,
he had a low passing numbers. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
I just took away your.
No, but it was his rookie year. It was his rookie year. He had low passing opportunities, so he should have more. He had lower yards, so he should have more. And I think he's going to pass for more TDs. I think what you're going to find here is that he is going to finish north of QB6. And QB5, I'm comfortable with him there. I think that's fine. Yeah. I'm not going to pay up for him, but if you're looking to pay up for some money, that's a good guy to take a flyer on.
If he lasts a couple more rounds after that ADP, absolutely.
If I see him sitting in the 6th round, I might consider it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right, so who do you have for me at QB?
So for my QB, I had to do a little digging here. You know what I mean? It's one of those things that's kind of harder to, predict a breakout player. And, we decided to not look at age as a breakout. And that's why I preface this with I chose Ryan Tannehill. And it's one of those things where he's going as QB 18 right now, second pick in the 10th round. Yeah. And you know what? Whenever he got the reins, week 7 through 16 last year, he was QB number 3. That's insane. That's a good sample size. It's not just a few weeks. And he was highly, highly efficient last year. He was number 1 in true passer rating by playerprofiler.com. And that takes out your drops and your throwaways. He was number 1, everybody. Number 1. And guess what? This team is the same around him. They didn't really lose anybody. They lost Deion Lewis, but hey, let's bring in Darrington Evans. And I think there's going to be more progression out of your wide receiver and A.J. Brown. Jonnu Smith is getting a lot more responsibility. I think he's going to progress. And that's another thing. Tannehill was efficient when he was with the Dolphins. He was just injury prone. Yeah. He had to run for his freaking life down in Miami.
It was also Adam Gase. It was not a creative offense. Yeah,
he got Gased. He got Gase all over him.
I think that this offense, the problem with it, in a lot of people's eyes, is that it's not flashy in the pass game.
Right.
It's because they're primarily a running team. And so because it's not a flashy passing unit, they're just not really like, oh, yeah, Tannehill's great. He just strikes you as a game manager a little bit, but his efficiency is phenomenal.
It's a really good floor. He's not going to hurt you in games. Yeah. He's not going to throw them out of games kind of thing.
Yep.
So that's why I think Tannehill could really have another good year, especially a full season as a QB for the Titans. So
yeah. All right, guys. So, hey, guess what? We dropped a couple sleeper episodes in the last 2 weeks. We're talking about possibly doing a COVID deep sleeper league super deep sleeper. We're talking 18 plus, right? So if you want to check out either of those recent sleepers that we've done, those sleeper episodes, you can check either in front of me or in front of Justin, and you can see one of those sleepers. Go ahead and click. And you know what? Also, while you're here, click the subscribe button, click that bell so you get notified every time we upload the best fantasy football podcasts on the internet. We thank you for being a fan of The Upside, and we will see you guys next time.
See you guys.